Karl Marx, who was revered by half of the world as a god, while the other half condemns him as devil, was born in 1818 in Rhineland, Germany. After his early education he joined law, and became a journalist. His newspaper was banned by the government and he was thrown on the road. He moved to France where got an opportunity to come in contact with eminent scholars, including Friedrich Engels, with whom he subsequently collaborated. In 1848 the two drafted the famous Communist Manifesto, which contains clearest and most compact statement of Marx's philosophy. The other important writings of Karl Marx include The Poverty of Philosophy, The Critique of Political Economy, Inaugural Address of the International Workingmen's Association, Value, Prince and Profit, Das Kapital, and the Civil War in France. Marx was greatly influenced by Hegel's dialectic, which explained the progress through the process of thesis, antithesis and synthesis. However, he replaced Hegel's idealism with materialism. Marx himself said, "My dialectic method is not only different from the Hegelian, but is its direct opposite." Marx was also greatly influenced by the classical school of British political economy. He borrowed the idea of theory of value and surplus from them. One first important idea of Marx's political thought is dialectical materialism. According to Marx, the chief force which determines the physiognomy of society and the character of social being at any particular time was method of procuring the means of life necessary and human existence, the mode of production of material values such as were necessary for life and development of society. The history of development of society followed the same process of thesis, antithesis and synthesis which Hegel had applied to his philosophy of spirit. Marx offered an economic interpretation of the various phenomena of history. According to him, the history passes through four phases, viz. Primitive communism, ancient, feudal and capitalist. In all these stages the class which controls the force of production controls the rest. This domination of one class over others naturally gave rise to tensions and strains. This resulted in clashes between the two opposites. In the final stage of this clash between the capitalist and the proletariat, a classless society shall emerge. Intimately connected with Marx's theory of economic interpretation of history, is his theory of class war. According to Marx, the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. Free man and slave, patrician and plebeian, lord and oppressed. The modern society is also divided into two hostile camps, the bourgeois and the proletariat. This hostility would ultimately end with the victory of the proletariat. According to Marx, the value of each commodity is determined by the quantity of labor expended and material used in it, by the working time necessary, under given social conditions for its production. As the capitalist does not pay the whole of the price to the labor or pays him much less than what he actually produces, the capitalist pockets the rest. This difference between the exchange value of manufactured commodity and the amount paid to the workman for his labor is called surplus value. The appropriation of the surplus value by capitalist, according to Marx, constitutes injustice. But as the workman does not possess any production, he has no alternative but to sell the labor to the capitalist.